It's Wednesday and you're welcome to Jasiri, the space where we pause in the middle of the week to look beyond the noise and make sense of the conversations shaping our society, from politics and governance to culture, identity, and the moments that define our shared experience. Jasiri is where we slow things down, ask deeper questions, and bring clarity to the stories that matter most. Not just what happened, but why it matters, who it affects, and what comes next. So beyond the headlines and breaking news, these are the stories shaping our present and influence the future we're all part of. Before we get into that, let's welcome our very own beauty queen back to the table. Good morning, queen.
Good morning.
How are you, my darling?
I'm very well.
So I haven't shared the table with you, have I?
No, you haven't.
Yeah, I've been up and down and around and about.
Making sure that everything goes well.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we all look like we didn't sleep well last night.
No.
I hope everybody is okay.
Apart from the traffic in Lagos, we're surviving.
I don't know what kind of traffic was on the express yesterday. As I was trying to go home, I was maneuvering. This whole 7-Up area was blocked. I thought I was smarter. I now entered at 7-Up, took Billy's way, was doing a lot, thinking I was smart. Hello, the map brought me right. But after I had gone to Mobolaji after I had gone to Allen Avenue, after I was heading down Mobolaji, Mobolaji, hello, map said turn. And when I realized it kept telling me to turn, I said, let me turn. Because whatever I'm seeing is in front.
It's not good.
I turned, I ended up right back where I left 30 minutes later.
I also saw that there was serious traffic on the coastal highway.
Yeah.
The coastal highway that was meant to ease traffic, in town. I'm telling you.
You know, there's activity every day, back to back, and it's just chaotic, especially for people living in Lekki. Like, usually it would take you 10 minutes or less to get Ikoyi. It's showing 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
What, is it just the people?
They're everywhere. They're on the streets. It's like Lagos is not sleeping. There's activity somewhere, and then you want to move. Okay, from Eco Hotel, we'll go to VI, we'll go to Lekki. So there's people are just.
It's dirty December. Dirty December.
So we should all dirty the December, voluntarily or non-voluntarily.
Did you see the video of the number of people on a beach in Durban, South Africa?
No.
Hey, Tolu, they reached 2 million. There was no space at all, honestly.
Well, it's Jesus' birthday, so I'm sure everybody was invited.
Okay, but you know, one of the things, so when I first met Queen, I was like, whose name is Queen? Who really is named Queen? And then I now found out that she's a beauty queen again. It did not make any sense to me. And I'm not sure many of our viewers know that you were once a pageant girl. How did you get into pageants?
Funny enough, it's so weird. I used to wear my brother's clothes since, back then in secondary school. Yes, I didn't think much about, beauty and everything. I'm the lightest in my family. My siblings are not as light as me. So when we moved to Lagos, my sister was like, oh, they're doing Miss Nigeria, you should go for it. I'm like, I don't even know one thing about wearing high heels. She said, I'll teach you. And that's just how it started. I did NYC, then I won, Miss NYC, and then I did Miss Nigeria, from Miss Nigeria to most beautiful girl in Nigeria, all because my sister said, you can.
I think it shows you the power of having people in your life who tell you you can do something.
Yes.
And that you should try it. And at the end of the day, there's no harm in trying.
When she mentioned her sister, I was like, oh, makes sense, because I know her sister dresses her up. Even now, she sews for her, and I'm like, ooh, must feel good.
Shout out to sister. Shout out to older sisters. Always looking out. Shout out to my big sister. Always looking out.
Shout out to my big sister at work and my actual big sister. My big sister at work is Tolu, by the way.
You see, I guess it's a big sister day.
It's a big sister day. Let's pick up, Dasha.
All right, so Queen, we'll actually pick up after the show. But then, right now, we have our senior international correspondent, Afia Hagen, joining us as we look at some news coming out of Ghana. Afia, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, my big sisters. How are you?
I love it. Good morning, Afia. Well, this is my first time with you on Jasiri, and, let's move straight to the story. We have two overlapping stories that we want to look at with you, and one involves a Ghanaian and the other involves Nigerians living in Ghana. And let's start with the story of course, the popular Ghanaian social media influencer Abu Trika, real name Frederick Kumi, who was arrested over, the allegations he orchestrated a romance scheme that defrauded elderly Americans of over $8 million. That's a lot of money. Of course, prosecutors said he used AI tools to create fake online identities, targeting victims through social media and dating sites, earning their trust, then extorting their money. And Kumi faces charges in the U.S. of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and a money laundering conspiracy, and faces up to 20 years in prison if found guilty. The 31-year-old was arrested in Ghana following a joint operation between the two countries, and the U.S. will now seek to extradite him. That's a lot.
So, Afia, given that Kumi, known as Abu Trika, was very popular on social media, let's start with how the news of his arrest and what he was arrested for was received.
Well, there's been a huge amount of reaction online to this. He was hugely popular online, his lifestyle, people looking at the cars he had, the clothes he wore, the watches that he posted. Now it's very much split. A lot of people were shocked, completely shocked that he had been arrested, that he'd been caught out, and this is what he had been doing. And then a lot of people saying, I knew it. I knew it. I called it. There's no way that this young boy came out of nowhere, a so-called entrepreneur. You know, people were always kind of asking, well, an entrepreneur of what? How did he make his money? So a lot of people saying, I knew it. I knew it. He was doing 419. He's a Sakawa boy. Yes, we all knew that he was doing this fraud and this huge romance fraud, something that's been around for many, many years, actually, and is becoming more and more sophisticated. And there's also a huge public debate now about influencer wealth. We see all these people online who just have this wealth. They just have it. There's no real explanation of how they acquired it, what they do to have it. And, you know, there's a certain level of wealth that, yes, you can get from influencing, from posting content online. And then there's this other level that Abu Trika seemed to have. Like I said, the cars, the watches, the jewelry, the trips, you know, all the designer goods. You can't get that from just posting on Instagram. So people are now really scrutinizing this influencer wealth. Where does it come from? How do people acquire it? There's a little bit of sympathy for him in some pockets. Some people saying, you know, this is just jealousy on behalf of the authorities. They're trying to take down a young man that's just trying to better himself. You know, he did gain his wealth from farming or fish farming or whatever he's trying to palm it off of. But of course, a lot of people know that, you know, it was inevitable that we were going to find out that the way he made his millions in this case was not legitimate.
Well, Afia, Kumi is apparently also known as Emmanuel Kojo Ba Obeng, and, you know, he was seen flaunting luxury items online. It reminds me of Nigeria's Mompa. But then victims said that he and others built trust through frequent intimate conversations by phone, email, and messaging platforms. And they then requested money, you know, or valuables under false pretenses such as urgent medical needs, travel expenses, or even investment opportunities. So the monies or the valuables were then directed to co-conspirators posing as third parties. Kumi allegedly also distributed the money to his associates in the US and also in Ghana. So it's like a whole, ring. You know, ring. And, you know, tell us, was he the only one arrested in this case? Or are there others? Or, you know, are we expecting more arrests linked to this case?
So he's definitely the most prominent face of this so-called ring, as you put it. He is the one at the moment that is the front man, as it were. There definitely will be additional suspects because there's so many more people involved. It's not just one person on one phone talking to another person requesting this money. It has to go through several other parties. And there's other people that will be involved to build the life of the scammer, as it will. There'll be, you know, a so-called sister. There'll be a mother. You know, there's other people that will be involved to help him play this part or help whoever play this part. And so he will have other people who are involved with him. At the moment, he is the face of it. He is the only person that has been arrested. But we can expect other people to be arrested because the police and the investigators are going to follow the transfers. They're going to track the devices that were used, the beneficiary accounts that were targeted as well. Ghana's Cybersecurity Authority has also used the language Abu Trika and others, and that reinforces the messaging that, yes, he is a public face of this at the moment, but we can expect other people to be arrested for these crimes as part of this crime syndicate, if you will. There's lots of other people that will be involved.
Right.
Wow.
So, Afi, of course, the U.S. authorities in recent months have stepped up their crackdown on criminal networks operating in the U.S. and West Africa that seeks to defraud elderly Americans. And of course, the case is being prosecuted under the U.S. Elder Abuse Prevention and Prosecution Law. What do we know about the criminal networks that run this, the scams out of Ghana?
Yeah, I mean, we know a little bit about these criminal networks, right? And we know that they have different roles within these networks. So they have role splitting. You've got the talkers, and those are the people that build the relationships. Those are the people that will initially call up someone. And yes, this is being prosecuted under elder abuse in the United States, but it is worth pointing out that it's not just elderly people who are targeted. They are targeted mostly because they are the most vulnerable and most likely to fall for these scams. But they're not the only people being targeted. But like I say, you have the talkers who build the relationships, who will make those calls to the elderly people, or initially send them emails, who will befriend them. Then you have the closers, and those are the people who will come with those urgent messages, whether it's a hospital need or an urgent investment that you must make now to have the most maximum return. And then you have the third parties, and those are the people who will receive the funds and receive the transfers. And often it will go through many, many people to muddy the trail, make it more difficult to figure out exactly where this money is going. Right. And then you have the people who are involved in money movement and money laundering, and they move the funds through multiple accounts, through various intermediaries, often called money mules, moving the money not just around the US or Ghana, sometimes all around the world before it gets to the final person, who will probably be, in this case, Abutrika. And yes, it is about targeting mostly elderly people, but vulnerable people as well. And often, it's about trawling through social media, finding someone who perhaps has recently gone through a breakup or a traumatic incident, and they'll befriend that person. And then you're more likely to fall for someone who seems to understand you, who wants to talk to you. And then once you're locked into that relationship, when they come up with a really desirable investment opportunity or an urgent medical need, you're already sucked into that relationship, and then you're more likely to lay out hundreds, if not thousands of pounds or dollars.
And it's necessary to emphasize that this is not just something that's happening in West Africa. As I woke up this morning scrolling Instagram, there was a documentary, I think, by Channel 4, or a report from Channel 4 that was in China. 2 massive multi-story buildings, top to bottom, engaged in this kind of internet fraud. Hundreds of thousands of phones, hundreds of thousands of laptops and computers, all used for this kind of fraud. Then Al Jazeera also had a documentary on romance scams as well. Now, we know that in July of this year, an alleged Ghanaian fraudster, popularly known as Dada Joe Remix, was extradited to the U.S. for using romance and inheritance schemes to defraud Americans. Afia, is there any updates on that particular case as it stands now? And we also know that Abutrika is in line for potential extradition as well. The U.S. has, I believe, made the request to the Ghanaian authorities.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dada Joe Remix, Joseph Kwadwo Badu Boateng, he was extradited to the United States in June of 2026. Now, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Arizona said his first initial appearance was in July. He's facing conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering charges, along with the romance and inheritance scheme that you talked about. Now, at the moment, there's not much else known about his case. He is awaiting trial in the US. But himself, along with Abutrika, if he's extradited as well, you can be sure, you can rest assured, the United States will want to make an example out of them. They will want to throw the book at them. They will face the maximum charges, because the United States wants to make it absolutely very clear that what is happening here cannot continue. And they will use it as a test case, as a way of showing to other people who might be involved in this romance fraud, look, if you are caught, this is the maximum that you will face. So definitely we can expect both these cases for them to be a test case and for them to be absolutely facing the maximum amount of time in prison.
All right, Afia, do stay with us. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll definitely continue this conversation. All right, thank you for staying with us. You're still watching Jasiri, and we're still talking about the popular Ghanaian social media influencer, Abu Trika, who was arrested over allegations of orchestrating a romance scam. And we still have our senior international correspondent with us, Afia Hagen. Afia, thank you for staying with us. Now, what is it about these scams that actually seem to make them successful, especially after all of these years? We've heard stories in the news, we've been warned so many times, we've seen documentaries, just like Tolu had said, the public prosecutions, and yet people are still falling victim.
And that's a really good question, because you would think that by now, with so much out there about these romance scams, that people wouldn't fall for them. But now they're becoming more and more sophisticated for many different reasons. I mean, you've got the advent of AI, which means that there's more tools in which people can use to operate these scams, whether that's using, ChatGPT to write better scripts, or maybe that's using things that can disguise their voice and make people sound more real or more attractive over the phone. And people have different ways of reaching out to people. They have more manipulative skills that they can use, that they've built up over the years. And so people will honestly think that they are not being scammed. And also it's widening the net of people that are being sucked in, and how people are being contacted over social media, direct to their phones, whether that is WhatsApp or via text or iMessage, calling people, cold calling people as well. The way that these romance scams have evolved from that email that you might get, from a prince saying, you have £50 million that someone's left you in an inheritance. It's become more and more believable. And I think definitely the advent of AI has meant that the ways in which people conduct these romance scams have become more and more sophisticated. So yes, people have become more aware, but the scammers have got better at their jobs as time has gone on.
So after, let's quickly move to the story that involves the of course, we know it's a lot of evolving challenges of digital crime, cross-border security, and regional cooperation. But in a coordinated early morning operation earlier this week, Ghanaian authorities arrested 32 Nigerian nationals believed to be operating a romance scam in cyber crime syndicate in Kasao, Tuba, central region of Ghana. The operation, led by the Ghana Cyber Security Authority, in collaboration with the national security operatives, resulted in multiple arrests and the seizure of electronic devices suspected to be linked to illegal activities. Now, Ghana's Minister of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation hailed the action as a massive blow against cybercrime aimed at making Ghana an unattractive destination for digital fraud. Now, Afia, I think one of the first questions I would even ask you right now is, what exactly happened in Kasao, Tuba, and how did Ghanaian authorities, come to arrest these 32 Nigerians?
Well, this was a coordinated effort between the Ghanaian police and the Cyber Security Authority with national security support that conducted that dawn raid in the Kaswa Tuba region. And what they found is a romance scam syndicate. So this is absolutely from the playbook of the romance scams that we know. It's about creating those fake personas online. It's about initiating the contact and building trust over time. It's about moving victims off platform. So from whatever social media account you may have found them from, to WhatsApp, to Telegram, to phone or email, and then going in for the sting. It's the I need urgent financial support, or here's an urgent financial opportunity that I need you to be part of. Directing the payments to controlled accounts, and then moving that money to wherever the scammer wants it. This is the general pattern that was used by Abu Trika and people before him. It's absolutely out of that same playbook. And this was about a coordinated effort and came around the same time as Abu Trika, right? So this is really about Ghanaian authorities, and especially at this time of year, really cracking down on both of these people and saying that we have our eye on you. You're not going to get away with this. It's definitely a coordinated, and I think it's no coincidence that you had Abu Trika's arrest and you had this raid in Kaswa Tuba region at the same time. Definitely a coordinated effort.
Right. Afia, Ghanaian authorities say that this group was allegedly running a romance scheme syndicate. I know you mentioned some things earlier, but for viewers who may not fully understand this, what were they alleged to have been doing?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So like I said, this was out of the playbook of the romance scam. So it's about making that initial contact, which the scammers will do on a social media platform. It's then moving that contact off that platform to another platform, something more personal. So your phone number, your email, your WhatsApp, your Telegram, your iMessage, building that personal relationship. After that is done, then there comes, that I need urgent medical assistance, or I need to pay rent for a grandmother, or something like that. That need for money. And remember, you're locked into that relationship. Sometimes these scammers will talk to people for months, every day for months, promising them things, whether it's a new life together, we're going to build our life together, we're going to be very happy together. They really draw people in to these romance scams. Once they've established that relationship, here comes the ask. And sometimes it can be a big ask. Sometimes it can be thousands of pounds or dollars, or sometimes it can be small amounts over a longer period of time. But once they've established that relationship, once you're sucked in, then you're going to believe that person when they ask you for financial assistance or tell you, here's an incredible financial opportunity that I think you can make money from. And then once they have their money from you, it's about farming it out, laundering. It goes through many, many different channels before it gets to the final person, whether that's Abitrika or someone like him, and then he pays out his associates. So that's what was being run in the Castle Tuba area, sort of like a mass farm, like Tola was speaking about that Channel 4 documentary, which I also watched. They had the 2-story buildings with all these people just sitting at computers, doing these romance scams. It's a similar thing. It was lots of people together in essentially a romance scam factory, as it were, and that's their job, just making contact with people, talking to people, and getting those final payouts.
All right, now, just before the break, right, we're talking about Ghanaian social media, Abitrika, who has also been arrested for running romance scams, on elderly Americans to the tune of about over $8 million. And with the arrest of 32 Nigerians in Ghana for the same thing, should we be asking how much cybercrime, fraud, and such scams are being run from Ghana? We know Nigeria's reputation for such, but what exactly is happening in Ghana? And permit me to also include that News Central helped rescue some boys that were trafficked to Ghana for the same thing. I think
a few months ago, earlier in the year, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you've made a very good point. Ghana has been attractive for this kind of romance scam to be operated out of the country for many reasons, for its connectivity, for its regional mobility, for its cross-border networks. There's many reasons why Ghana is an attractive place for these businesses to mushroom and to flourish. Now it's about the authorities trying to brand Ghana differently, making it an unattractive place for these romance scams to flourish. That's why you have all these arrests. It's saying to people, look, don't come here and do this, because we will catch you. We will shut it down immediately, and we will also make sure that you get the maximum punishment. If you're defrauding people from the United States, guess what? We're going to extradite you there. And so I think you have these sort of 3 parallel signals. You have the foreign arrests, you have the extraditions, and you have the local multiple arrest operations as well. These are 3 very strong signals. Foreign arrests, extraditions, local multiple arrests. Authorities are going to use this 3-pronged attack to kind of say to scammers and potential scammers, don't do this here, because these are the tools that we will use against you, and we are looking for you. Ghana has long wanted to brand itself, and has been branding itself, as an attractive tourist destination. Some of it's friendly for foreigners, and they do not want to be known as a place where romance scams are born out of, because it's seen as an easy target and somewhere where scammers can hide and they won't get found out.
Right. Nafi, of course, like Dashin said earlier, Nigeria carried the crown when it comes to, scam and all that. When you say scam, you just hear Nigerian prince.
Yeah.
Of course, many Nigerians, believe that cybercrime is tied to youth unemployment, desperation, and migration pressure across West Africa. Which is Ghana focusing only on enforcement, or are there conversations around addressing these deeper issues?
Yes, there are those conversations as well. Like you so rightly said, a lot of the time these scammers decide to go into this line of work because there is nothing else. I mean, lately in Ghana, we had that terrible stampede at stadium where you had lots of people came to sign up to join the Ghanaian army, to join the armed forces. You had that stampede because so many young people turned up. It was unprecedented. The hundreds into thousands of young people that turned up to sign up for national service because there is no other employment. We had 6 young women who died in that incident because of the number of people that turned up in a country that has such high youth unemployment. If you could tackle the youth unemployment, you can almost be certain that you'll be tackling the cybercrime issue as well, because young people will feel that there's something else for them, that they don't have to go down that road. So we have to have those conversations as well. What is happening to make sure that we can reduce youth unemployment? What's happening to make sure that young people have something else to do apart from perhaps go down this road of committing cybercrime? Where are the opportunities for young people in Ghana and across Africa?
Yeah.
You know, youth unemployment is extremely high. And so if you can keep youth unemployment down, you can absolutely be sure that cybercrime will go down as well.
All right, so very quickly as we wrap up, when you look at the arrest of the 32 Nigerians along with Abu Treka's case, what does this tell us about how organized and cross-border romance scams have become in West Africa?
I mean, they're extremely organized, extremely coordinated across West Africa. I mean, you mentioned the trafficking of young boys from Nigeria to Ghana. That tells you how widespread the networks are across West Africa. Ghana is doing its enforcement at the moment, wants to make sure that it shuts down these cybercrime circles. And absolutely, it wants to make sure that it remains an attractive tourist destination and one that is not known for this. But these networks are widespread. They're all across West Africa. And the reasons why we have them are widespread as well. I mean, it's youth unemployment, it's status pressure from social media, it's migration ambition as well. Can create a pipeline into cybercrime. So if you want to solve the problem across the continent and across West Africa, you have to look at, yes, shutting down the cybercrime circles, but you have to look at the reasons why they exist in the first place, tackling youth unemployment and making sure that people have better opportunities and don't have to turn to cybercrime in the first place.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Afia, for this very interesting conversation. We really appreciate you for, taking time out of your busy schedule to speak to us. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a quick break right now. And if you were watching Breakfast Central this morning, you would have seen that the National Labor Congress has started a nationwide protest march today. We're going to check in with correspondents across the country and get updates on that. That's all happening after this break. Stay with us.
And welcome back. This is still just Siri. Now we move to a story that we can know.
Story. We have to go. We have breaking news coming, of course, right now. As I told you earlier, with Breakfast Central, we have spoken to a number of reporters, starting with Israel here in Lagos, as the NLC kicked off nationwide marches to protest the insecurity in the country. And at that march, we saw a number of prominent faces, one of them, of course, being Femi Falana, who was part of that. But right now, we're going to Umaru Kirawa in Borno State, and he's going to give us updates on what's happening there as well. Umaru, good morning to you. What is the situation with the NLC, let's call it a protest march, right now in Borno State?
For the first time, we are seeing the NLC members marching across different parts of the street in Maiduguri to voice out their concerns, particularly with regard to the issue of the increasing insecurity across different parts of the country. They say that the government is doing, but it really needs to do more in terms of ensuring that all persons abducted are released and the sponsors of terrorism are dealt with equally, and the security situation is to improve. This is basically the message that the NLC members are advocating. They are not talking this time around about increase in minimum wage or something like that. But we have some of them who are with me who will tell us more with regard to their own position with regard to today's protest. So first, you introduce yourself to us.
I'm Mohammed Jarwa, the chairman of the under the auspices of NLC.
Okay, so what is it like for you people today coming out marching in numbers today? And we've seen so many policemen out here.
Yeah, our concern today, we are concerned about the that is definitely the whole nation. Because everything is not more a joke again. Because we can see how many people, so many of our people are adopted in school. People are killed in the market, people are killed in their farm, no place left in Nigeria. So the NLC is so concerned. That is why we say we need to come out and tell the government that the government needs to do more in terms of the security. Because the priority of the government was the protection of life and property of the citizens. If the government fails in protecting the life and property of the citizens, that means that government is about to fail. So that is the reason why the NLC is so concerned. That is why we come out to tell the government that we don't want the situation whereby the government will be called a failed government. So that is why we need to act quietly. All of us are handed to put in debt so that this insecurity will come to an end.
I mean, when you say all hands put on the deck, what do you mean? What do you people want besides the complaint that there's increasing insecurity?
Our complaint here is that we believe at the Labour side that the Nigerian military, the Nigerian security are some of party issues. So all what we need a commitment, we need a political will from the government so that this issue of insecurity, let them motivate our armed forces, let them motivate our security so that they can do more in order to tackle this insecurity.
Okay, thank you so much, Mohammed. We have another member of the NLC who will tell us more with regard to what they are advocating for. So first you introduce yourself.
Very much, Samuel Turawa, State Secretary of the
So what is it like? What are people advocating new this time?
Well, thank you very much. We are here today after the show was taken at the National University of the Nigerian Congress on 4th December at Lagos, where the issue of security was taken. And the Labour looked at the problem holistically and discovered that there is need for government to really come in tandem with the realities on the ground. The situation whereby most are no longer farm, most are no longer go to school, and so let's put their outlook. The things will be improved. So Labour does like scripture and say, that it was 20 government, the 20 government, the government should in terms of security. You know, in portion that in the last 2-3 weeks, more than 300 students were looking in various locations across the country as a result of security. And we believe as a police that the government is able to handle the situation. So that will make necessary for us to come together and voice our anger for the government so that we need people to know about this situation.
Thank you so much. We have another member of the NLC who will also tell us more. So,
very much inspiring. Today, the situation of this country is very, very unfortunate, and we need the government to act more. This is time for action. It's very unfortunate. We see criminals operating various social media platforms. Not fair. This is discouraging. It is showing the masses that the government is already acting. So the type of action is now. We need the government to that. We need more software equipment for our security to detect these criminals. They are very developed countries. They are using software technology. Most of these criminals have been detected and arrested and prosecuted. Today is very unfortunate in Nigeria. We have everything, but the government is not doing much regarding this software technology. They are not being utilized. So at least we need the government to act properly to arrest these criminals and please let's look with our eyes open. Thank you very much.
all right, thank you so much. So that has been the key message of the Nigerian Labour Congress here in Borno State. Improve security and, of course, to tackle all those citizen problems that are affecting the safety of citizens across different parts of the country. Beside me, you can see policemen.
Yes.
Large number of them are out. This is the first time that we are seeing the Labour members are out on the streets of Maiduguri, the Borno State capital. Another success story for them in terms of achieving their own mission and, of course, advocating their own cause to the Nigerian authorities.
Right. All right, Kira, that was actually the question I was going to ask you because we can see the security around you. And is this march congregated in one area or have they been moving up and down the streets? Is there a path that they're following? And how are the police parts of this? Are they just there for the safety? Have they warned them about restricting themselves to a certain area in terms of the security for this march?
Yes, at initial, it was very difficult for the labor members to even have access to partake in this march because they had to meet with the commissioner of police, discuss intensively with regard to their own rights to come out on the street to advocate for the safety and security of the people. And after in-depth discussion, the commissioner of police allowed them to embark on this exercise, but within a limited area, which you can see behind me, so many policemen as if there is going to be a war here. But it's good that it's peaceful and Nigerians were able to voice out their concerns, and then their message is clear. And we hope that the government has listened and it will act to ensure the safety of the citizens, because that is the primacy of governance. That is the number one responsibility of the government. Like one of the members said, any government that fails to ensure the safety of security of the people, that government has failed, and that government is failing. And as such, more effort really needs to be put in place to ensure that safety, security, stability, not across Borno State, not across Nigeria, not across the Lake Chad, but across the West African region, and of course, by extension, the African region.
Okay. Mark, thank you so much for joining and giving us that update. Thank you. And now we cross over to our correspondent, Austin Azu. Austin, good morning. Can you tell us where you are and what's the update about the NLC protest?
See members of the affiliate union of the Nigeria Labour Congress in Delta State protesting over the insecurity in Nigeria. From the banner, you can see that they are protesting against insecurity. Secure the lives of Nigerians, secure our future, no safety, no security, no peace, no development, and insecurity now in Nigeria. However, this protest is in consonance with a section of the Constitution, Section 14, subsection 2B of the Nigeria Constitution, as altered, that the primary purpose of government is to provide life and security. However, Nigerians seem not to be seeing this fulfillment from government aspects. Hence, this protest today. In solidarity with the national and across the country, this protest is ongoing. However, we have Mr. Lawrence here. Mr. Lawrence, tell us, how do you feel about this protest? You are a member of the NLC in Delta State. So what's your take about this protest so far?
In fact, this protest is long overdue. This protest is long overdue. It's something the Nigerian Labour Congress would have come up with since. Because life and property, they are no longer safe in this country. You can't imagine that a young man was slaughtered almost to death yesterday in a village, Kokokori. In fact, that village is my village. So the insecurity, our women are not safe, our children are not safe, we are not safe, the market is not safe, and we have the government. We are pleading with the government of today to come to the aid of Nigerian workers, to come to the aid of Nigerians. This nonsense has to stop. Bandit has to stop in Nigeria. They can't continue to kill us. They can't continue to harass us. They can't continue to rape our women. The government must do something, or else this protest, I will advise that the Nigerian Labour Congress that we continue with this protest all through the year, and even to 2026 until Nigerian government do something. Thank you.
All right, we have the State Secretary of the NLC in Delta State, that is Mr. Acrobat. Mr. Acrobat, okay, tell us what other things NLC is doing about this insecurity, apart from this protest right now.
Apart from this protest, NLC has be an advocate, canvassing that Nigeria must be well secured. Because the workers are not secured. If the workers are not secured, they cannot go to work. The farmer is not secure. The farmer cannot go to farm. You want to travel from here to Kogi, you are afraid. You want to travel from here to Ugeri, you are afraid. You want to travel from here to Enugu, you are afraid. We cannot continue to live in fear. The government must protect us. He is the chief security officer of the state. He must be able to protect us. He must be able to secure our future. He must be able to.
All right, okay, now there's law about anti-open grazing law in Delta State and in some other parts of the country. Do you think this law is being implemented when it comes to this herders-farmers clash in Nigeria?
No. The herders-farmers clash must stop. Open grazing must stop. The farmers cannot go to farm because of the herders. They move about as nomadic Fulanis, they move about everywhere. They destroy crops, they destroy farm produce, they destroy farm harvest, they destroy everything. So the Nigerians, we must ensure, the government must ensure that the farmers are safe even when they go to their farm.
Okay, now this protest, the procession is ongoing. Now tell us now, where are you going to from here and what are your demands to wherever you are going to?
We are going to the government house now. Our demand is simple. Secure our today, secure our tomorrow, secure our future. Without security, there will not be development. They must put an end to this insecurity for us to develop as a nation. We cannot continue to live in fear. We cannot continue to live in such a way that as if we guard our own life. The security forces, the security agents must be seen to be working. And if they are working, those who kidnap, we must be able to bring them to book. The government must be able to bring them to justice. We have never seen that done. This must be done so that others can stop engaging in kidnapping, which has become what? As if it's becoming a business. It's not a business, it's a criminal act. And it must be condemned as such. And we must see those who have been involved before and be caught, be punished in the process.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Acrobat. That's the secretary of the NLC here in Delta State. From this procession right now, like what you rightly stated, the procession is on movement to government house where they are going to submit their papers to the governor on what transmission to the president about their demands here in the state. So back to you in the studio.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Austin Azu in Delta State. I'm being told our correspondent in Kogi State, Mono, is actually on standby to give us an update on the protests there as well. Mono, if you can hear me, please go ahead.
Good morning, Dashin. Good morning, ladies. I'm live at the government house here in Lokoja. The protesters, the members of the NLC, TUC, and affiliate union members protested not too far from the government house, just behind me, from just a few kilometers away. They walked down here and they are demanding an end to insecurity, which is a major theme for this particular protest, and also calling for better welfare. And as you know, we've always reported about the insecurity situation in the state and also government's efforts to curb insecurity in the state. You recall that Kogi State, our borders, Kwara State, shares borders with Niger State. These two states have been so prone to insecurity, and the spillover of some of these bandits have come into Kogi State. And this is what the state government said to the NLC chairman, Comrade Amari Gabriel, who put out a plight to the state governor, who is presently not in the state. He was represented by Commander Jerry Omadara, the security advisor of the state, who reeled out some of the efforts of the state government in terms of what they are doing to curb insecurity in the state, most especially bandits. In a space of almost 2 weeks, we've seen two churches that have been attacked with abductions, and these are just some of the key concerns. Some of the protesters in some of the sound bites I sent in earlier were talking about the fact that they are scared to travel even to a local government that is not so far from the state capital here in Lokoja. And they were here just a few moments ago, but they've all dispersed. It was a peaceful protest. Security presence was everywhere. They followed them. They cooperated with those who were protesting, and also those who were protesting also cooperated with the security officials to ensure that this was a peaceful protest. So that is the assurance that the state government is offering to state workers, that they recognize the work they are doing. They are also calling for intelligence, asking labor workers to help out in terms of intelligence so that they can continue to fight insecurity in the state. So from Lokoja here, it's been a peaceful one. And of course, the State Security Advisor, Commander Jerry Omadara, says he will take all of their plights, all of their demands to Governor Usman Ojojo.
Is it possible for you to speak with, any of the NLC representatives on ground?
Okay, yeah, like I earlier said, they've all dispersed. It was a very fast one. It was not a really lengthy protest. Like I said earlier, that the place they marched towards the government house is not really far. We tried connecting when the crowd was really much here, but we had issues connecting, so most of them have already gone.
I'm seeing this visual of a police officer trying to move them along. Can you tell us about the security situation while the protest was on?
It was peaceful. It was collaborative. There was no form of harassment. When I came here early at about 7:30 a.m. The protest was scheduled for 8 a.m. and I was privileged to speak to one of the senior police officers, and he told me that they are here to ensure a peaceful protest. At first, when I saw, the cars, the jeeps, and, the security officials at the particular meeting point where this protest was supposed to kick off from, I was thinking that this was a move to clamp down on the protesters, but that was not the case. They said they were here to protect the protesters and to also ensure that the protest is not hijacked. So they cooperated with the union members who coordinated themselves efficiently, and they just walked past the streets from the particular junction very close to the government house. I don't really want to mention the name of the location because that will be doing adverts for the particular company that owns that particular location where they marched from to the government house. But it's not very far, probably just 5 minutes walk. And after, when they came in, the state security advisor was already just standing at this point with the security officials, and they addressed the protesters while the state chairman also reeled out some of their concerns, most especially that it has to do with security. And I recall something that the state chapter chairman of the NLC said to the government. He talked about cooperating with the local heads of communities, the local vigilantes, and also traditional rulers and chiefs to ensure that they deal with the culprits of this insurgency, which is mostly in the areas that are close to forest regions in the border areas of Kogi State. Like I said earlier, we share borders with Ilori and Niger State, and those are the particular hotspots. And I must say that the state security advisor also called for the federal government's support in terms of efforts to help curb insecurity, that they know the particular locations of some of these bandits, but that they will need air support from the federal government. And they've made that appeal before, and they're reiterating that appeal to the federal government to ensure that they have all that they need to be able to tackle insecurity in the state. And they are saying that they're doing very well with their ground operations, but they will need Air Force to be able to completely obliterate the insecurity situation in the state as regards to banditry.
All right, Mona, thank you so much for that update as well, and thank you for letting us know how the protest went. Thank you so much. All right, ladies, we just have a few minutes, and just listening to our correspondents, a few things that came to my mind. It would be noted that the president actually met with the heads of the NLC yesterday, and Joe Ajero was asked whether or not, after the meeting with the president, whether they would be calling off the strike, and he said the NLC is not one person. He needs to go back and talk to the executive council and also the state chapters. And with us seeing a protest this morning, apparently whatever they may have relayed from the president might have been insufficient to call off the protest. So the protest did happen this morning. But what always irks me is like government waits to the final dying moment to call a meeting. There was a notice of this protest almost 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks ago. You do the same thing when teachers want to go on strike, when ASU wants to go on strike. You do the same thing when the National Resident Association of Doctors wants to go on strike. You wait. They give you notice. They try to engage. We're not saying that the unions are without maybe their own faults as well, but they give you notice, they give you deadlines, they talk about it, they're in the press, they're in everything, and it's always the dying moment that you want to call them to call off the strike, which in some ways can actually hit at their own integrity. And the other thing I noticed is the police were there. There's security for them, and they're able to go about the protest march as they want. I hope that this is the same thing for all others. NLC is too big for you to really want to try to clamp down on them. But others who want to protest, who want to say something, they should be afforded the same security that we're seeing is being provided for the NLC. We should not be hearing that, oh, they want to clamp down, they want you to cancel it because we're hearing that's going to be taken over. No, do your job when citizens want their voices to be heard.
So since the police are quiet, it looks, organized. I won't be surprised if the NLC themselves, requested for the security presence to protect them while they protest. And I'm also surprised at the fact that it took them this long to protest about, the insecurity. Like what has been happening for the past 16 years, Tolu. And I'm not seeing the amount of people that you would actually want to see. Remember what happened in Bulgaria? A whole government had to resign.
I think Nigerians are just tired. I feel like we're talking about the same thing, the same strike, the same protest, over the same thing. Oh, give us what you're supposed to give us, or do this, or fix this. So it's like they're exhausted. You can't keep talking about the same thing. Talk about the police people and their pension. If you're collecting 30K from somebody who's earning how much for 35 years, that's already 12 billion.
I don't do math if I'm not counting my own money.
So you see, they would support these people to come out because they're the ones dying. They're the ones in front seeing these things, the bandits, and it's really sad.
And with what Nigerians are actually gearing up for come January 1st, 2026. So look, God will help us in this country.
We talk about Nigerians being pushed to the wall, to the wall.
Yeah,
I hope government is listening. There are some voices and some things happening that you cannot afford to ignore. But we will, of course, be here to give you all the updates on everything that develops, whether it concerns Jasiri or concerns Nigeria. Conversations happen right here on News Central. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thursday, we're back to a conversation we don't ever get tired of, education. So make sure you're with us, 10 a.m. West African time. Bye for now.